Probably for the first time in St. Lucia's post-independence history is the very exercise of the government's presentation of a budget being seriously questioned by the opposition. The Member of Parliament for Castries South, Dr. Ernest Hilaire, says given the uncertainty brought about by COVID-19, the government had more reasonable and realistic options that it should have exercised than presenting this budget.
So the law says the Prime Minister does not have to do it. The Prime Minister himself says it is not wise to do it. Then why is he doing it? Why did he not consult the leader of the opposition on a national economic package for the country? And again, the big question remains, why did he not present instead a COVID-specific statement of estimates for a 4-month period and then frame a national economic response as proposed by the committee that will be built on all stakeholders when, by then, we would have had a greater certainty and understanding? Mr. Speaker, the answer is simple. It is an elections budget. Yes, Mr. Speaker, an elections budget. This is what this represents. And in the context of the COVID crisis, it is entirely unwise, unnecessary, and unrealistic. Surely, an elections budget cannot be a priority right now. Instead, it should be the welfare of the people and the country which have been exposed by COVID.
Former Prime Minister Dr. Kenny Anthony says the almost $1.7 billion budget presented by the government seems to ignore the reality of COVID-19 and its far-reaching implications.
If I did not know what was going on around the world and in St. Lucia, and I only looked at these budget estimates, I would think that COVID-19 is a myth. The tourism sector is booming or about to boom. And the revenue declines that the Minister for Finance spoke to are but a figment of his imagination. Only yesterday in his presentation, the Minister of Finance said the pandemic caused a 60% decline in revenue. The government has budgeted revenue which is approximately $70 million below the projected outturn for 2019-20. I invite you to look at page Roman numeral 3, Mr. Speaker. Yet the same government has told us that they anticipate revenue shortfalls of a minimum of EC 40 million per month for at least 3 months to July 2020. This is equivalent to EC $160 million. Against this anticipated decline, they have even asked public servants to consider a pay cut of approximately 35 to 60%, which for my part I treat as a loan. 75%. This raises two questions. Despite the economic conditions globally, did the government of St. Lucia deliberately overestimate its likely revenue for fiscal year 2020-2021 to justify taking on major projects which at this time can be delayed?
Dr. Anthony accused the government of casting a veil of secrecy over the public finances.
If we are in an unprecedented crisis for which these estimates of revenue and expenditure have been fashioned, then the government has a duty to make frank and full disclosure about the financial affairs of the country. It must put all its cards on the table. It must not put the opposition in search. We need to know all the financial resources available to the state so rational and reasonable decision making could be made. So the Minister of Finance should tell us what is the total amount in the vaunted sinking fund. After all, it has been 4 years of accumulation. How much has been earned by the extra 150 tax on fuel? How much has been spent and how much remains? What is the amount in the lockbox held by SLASPA from the travel taxes imposed on St. Lucians and visitors to the country? Has it been opened and for what? How much is held by T.O.R. King in his escrow account on behalf of the government and people of Saint Lucia from the sale of our passports?
Zero.
And is Invest Saint Lucia holding any funds on behalf of the government of Saint Lucia in overseas accounts from the sale of passports? And if so, how much?
Zero.
Mr. Speaker, sadly, it looks like it's business as usual.
At the heart of this debate is what approach should be taken given the harsh reality of COVID-19. For its part, the government has argued that it needs to proceed with its mega projects for which funding has been secured, as this could create employment and boost economic activity. The opposition argues that the government should focus on meeting its commitment, like the payment of salaries for civil servants and providing significant support to the hard-hit people of St. Lucia. Saint Lucian for the HTS News Force.